25 Curious Psychology Facts. Psychology is a science in constant evolution. The studies and investigations throw new data and curiosities about the behavior and the human mind. In this video, you will find curious facts about psychology that have been found in research, discoveries about the human psyche that do not leave you indifferent. Number 1. If you have Plan B, Plan A is less likely to work. Sometimes being too prepared can cause your plan to fall apart. In a series of experiments at the University of Pennsylvania, researchers found that when volunteers thought of a backup plan before beginning a task, they performed worse than people who hadn't thought of a Plan B. What's more, when they realized they had options, their motivation to succeed the first time diminished. The researchers insisted that thinking ahead is a great idea, but you may be more successful if you keep those plans to mere blueprints. Number 2. Fear can make us feel good when we are not in danger. Not everyone likes horror movies, but for lovers of this genre, there are some theories as to why they love the fear it produces. The main reason is due to hormones. When you're watching a horror movie or in a haunted house, your body releases lots of adrenaline, endorphins, and dopamine. These hormones have the function of preparing the body for a fight or flight response. But no matter how scared you feel, your brain recognizes that you're not really in danger, so you get that natural high with no risk to your survival. Number 3. Spreading a yawn is a sign of empathy. When we see someone yawn, immediately someone else yawns. And it is that yawning is contagious, even if you are not tired. There are some theories that explain this fact, but one of the main ones is that it is a sign of empathy. People who are less likely to show empathy, such as young children who haven't yet learned it or people with autism, are also less likely to yawn in reaction to someone else's. Number 4. We care more about a single person than about mass tragedies. In another study from the University of Pennsylvania, an experiment was done to demonstrate this fact. One group was told that a girl was dying of hunger, another that millions of people are dying of hunger, and a third of both situations. Among the results, it was found that people donated more than double the money when they told them about the girl. The researchers concluded that we are programmed to help the person close to us, but when the problem is too big, we tend to believe that our small contribution will not do much. Number 5. It takes 5 positive things to make up for one negative thing. Our brains have something called a negativity bias that makes us remember bad news more than good news. We quickly forget that they told us good job, but we still think that someone made that mistake. To feel balanced, we need at least a serving of 5 positive things for every bad thing in our lives. Number 6. Food tastes better when someone else prepares it. Although it seems the perfect excuse for those who refuse to cook, it turns out that in an investigation published in the journal Science, this study concludes that when you prepare food, you spend so much time around it that it stops being exciting, which decreases your enjoyment. Number 7. We'd rather know something bad is coming than not know what to expect. Researchers who published their work in the journal Nature found that it's less stressful to know that something negative is about to happen. For example, it's impossible for you to make it to that meeting on time, than it is to not know how things will go. For example, such a once you arrive on time. This happens because the part of our brain that predicts consequences, whether good or bad, is more active when it doesn't know what to expect. If stepping on the gas helps avoid traffic, we'll go through that stress instead of just accepting that we'll have to come up with a decent excuse when we're late. Number 8. We always try to return a favor. It's not just good manners. The rule of reciprocity suggests that we are programmed to want to help someone who has helped us. It probably developed because, for society to run smoothly, people need to help each other. Number 9. When a rule seems too strict, we want to break more of it. Psychologists have studied a phenomenon called reactance. When we perceive that certain freedoms are being taken away from us, we not only break that rule, but we break many others in an effort to regain freedom. Number 10. Our favorite subject is ourselves. Surely someone comes to mind who spends the day talking about himself. Don't blame him, he's connecting with his brain. Our brain's reward centers are activated more when we talk about ourselves than when we talk about other people, according to a Harvard study. Number 11. There's a reason we want to hug pretty things. He's so cute, I want to cuddle him all the time. That's called cuteness aggression, and people who feel it don't really want to crush that adorable puppy or baby. Research published in Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience found that when we feel overwhelmed by positive emotions, as we do when looking at an impossibly cute animal or baby, a little aggression helps balance that high. Number 12. Our brain makes boring speeches more interesting. Researchers at the University of Glasgow found that in the same way that we hear voices in our heads when we read aloud, our brains also talk about boring speech. If someone speaks in a monotonous way, we will subconsciously make it more vivid in our heads. Number 13. Some people enjoy seeing anger in other people. In a University of Michigan study, people with high testosterone levels were found to remember information better when it was accompanied by an angry face than when that face was neutral or faceless. These results indicate that they found the angry look rewarding. Number 14. If others disagree, we automatically question ourselves. In a famous 1950 experiment, college students were asked to point to which of 3 lines was the same length as a 4th line. When all the other participants chose a clearly wrong answer, the participants followed suit and gave that same wrong answer. Number 15. We're not as good at multitasking as we think we are. Research published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology shows that even when we think we're doing 2 things at once, what we're actually doing is rapidly switching between the 2 tasks. That is, we are focused on one task at a time. No wonder it's so hard to hear your partner as you scroll through Instagram. Number 16. We are convinced that the future is bright. Whether you like where you are now or not, most of us have an optimistic bias that convinces us that the future will be better than the present, according to research in current biology. We assume that we will progress in our careers, never get divorced, raise beautiful, good children, and die at 100 years old. They may not all be realistic, but there is nothing wrong with dreaming. Number 17. We believe what we want to believe, involuntarily. We humans are victims of confirmation bias, the tendency to interpret facts in a way that confirms what we already believe. No matter how many facts or evidence you show your brother-in-law trying to sway his political views, there's a good chance he won't budge. Number 18. Our brain wants us to be lazy. This argument will lead you to argue it's not me, it's my brain in almost any situation. From an evolutionary point of view, conserving energy is a good thing. When food was scarce, our ancestors still had to be prepared for any danger. If you're on a diet, you should know that a small study published in Current Biology found that when walking on a treadmill, volunteers automatically adjusted their gait to burn fewer calories. Number 19. Loneliness affects our health. The researchers found that the fewer friends a person has, the higher their fibrinogen levels. The effect was so strong that having 15 friends instead of 25 was just as bad as smoking. Number 20. We are programmed to adore the music of our adolescence. The music we love gives us a hit of dopamine and other feel-good chemicals, and that's even stronger when we're young because our brains are developing. Around the age of 12 to 22, everything seems very important, so we tend to emphasize those years more and hold on to those musical memories. Number 21. Certain color combinations are harmful to eyesight. When you see a bright blue and a red side by side, your brain thinks the red is closer than the blue, which makes you practically cross-eyed. The same goes for other combinations, such as red and green. Number 22. We look for human faces, even in inanimate objects. Most of us have not seen Jesus in a toast, but we have all seen faces staring back at us from inanimate objects. This effect is called pareidolia, and scientists believe it's due to the fact that recognizing faces is so important to social life that our brains would rather find a face where there isn't one than miss one that does exist. A full-fledged just in case. Number 23. We will always find a problem. Have you ever wondered why when a problem is solved, another occupying appears? It's not that the world is against you, but your brain might be, in a sense. The researchers asked the volunteers to distinguish threatening-looking people from computer-generated faces. As we showed people fewer and fewer threatening faces over time, we found that they broadened their definition of threatening to include a broader range of faces, writes researcher David Lavari, PhD. In other words, when they ran out of threatening faces to find, they started calling threatening faces that they used to call harmless. Number 24. Our brain doesn't think long-term is that important. Just about everyone has procrastinated at one point or another, even though we know logically that it would make more sense to finish homework before turning on Netflix. However, we prefer urgent and unimportant tasks because we know that we will be able to complete them. 25. Money can buy happiness, but only up to a point. Research shows that in terms of income, people have a satiation point where happiness peaks and earning more won't make you happier.